Everyone, hope everyone is doing well. Let me share this. Okay. Peace, love, and divine light, everyone. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are and you are living in your greatest purpose. Thank you for your likes, comments, shares, and subscribes. Thank you to all who have book personal readings, all the channel members, new subscribers. It's been a minute since I have done a live, y'all. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining the live. I know it's been a while since we've been live. So, leave a comment in the chat. Let me know you can hear me. Also, thumbs up the video as you are joining the live. I want to make sure my audio is working properly. Okay, so I wanted to talk about something before. Well, I don't know if we'll see how it goes. Sometimes I come on here and I kind of just, let spirit lead. Without necessarily having a specific topic in mind. Today I kind of had there is an energy leading this live, and it's connected to, and some of you may or may not have seen, actually let me allow a couple more people to join before I start speaking, because folks may ask, what are we talking about? So I want to make sure everyone's aware. Hey everyone, good to see you. Let me know in the comment section that you can hear what is being said, what I'm saying. Let me just make sure. All right, so if you can share the live as you are tuning in, I'll wait for a couple minutes for folks to join in. Let's see. And let me know where you're tuning in from as you are coming in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And also, if you can hear me, let me know as well. I'm gonna try to adjust the screen so that way it can show everything. Peace, love, and light, everyone. Thank you for joining the live. It's been a minute, I know, since we did a live, since we connected. Okay. Hey, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you. Let me know if you can hear me, if the audio is working correctly. Okay, so I think there's a decent amount of people, and again, it's not about the numbers. I just want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to join in before I start speaking. So I recently had the opportunity to see the movie Sinners, and I know a lot of you have seen reviews. Various people have reviewed the film. Let me just say this, it's one of those things, if you have not seen it, I guess this is me advertising for them. They're not paying me or anything. It's just one of those things that if you haven't had a chance to see it, I would definitely see it for this specific reason. So if you've seen the film, many of you will see that, okay, one of the parts that resonate, and I find that this is the case for a lot of people, is the juke joint scene. Okay, and let me tell you, I have never seen a movie that just takes you on, and I feel like this is lack of a better term, it takes you for a roller coaster ride. It's like you're not sure if you're here or in another realm, specifically during that scene, the juke joint scene. where they're showing, the griot, okay, the young man who is a griot, who is a storyteller. I mean, there's so many layers to this film. This is the scene that I definitely want to pinpoint. So the young griot, the minute he opens his mouth and he starts to sing and he's playing his music, and most importantly, he's telling his story, all of a sudden, it's like you're connected to so many different realms. You're connected to different eras, different genres, different cultures. It's as if this young man's story all of a sudden opens a portal. Okay, this is how I felt when I was watching this film. Okay, and again, this video is not necessarily just a review of Sinners. Maybe it will be. We'll see. We'll see how Spirit leads us. But I definitely feel the need to speak on this because, the minute the griot, the young griot, okay, the storyteller, starts to sing, plays his guitar and begins to tell his story, essentially that's what I got from this, because it's a major aspect of this film is about the importance of telling our stories and what that does, what kind of a connection it gives us to not only each other, right? It also gives us a connection to our ancestors, our ancestral bloodline. So as soon as he starts to sing, plays his guitar, you get taken into this portal of all the different genres of music, specifically having to do with people of African descent. Okay. And so that's the part of the film that is actually inspiring this message that I have here. Okay. About the importance of, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to entitle it, but I know it has something to do with using your gifts. Okay. Now in the film, his gift was in storytelling. And many of us actually have this gift of being able to tell stories, of being able to share stories with people. And those stories essentially become a vehicle, a tool that can be used for healing. And many of us actually underestimate the importance of telling those stories because either we've never been told how important those stories are, or we haven't seen examples of, people in our family telling those stories, or it could even be that there's been people in your family that may have tried to convince you that the stories that you hold, that you're connected to, they may not be that important. Okay, actually, I know that a lot of us, we've been deterred to disconnect from our stories, the stories that are personal to us, because a lot of those stories that are supposed to strengthen us, a lot of people in our bloodline or our family sometimes, discourage us from telling those stories because there's a sense of shame that comes with them. Okay. And I can give you an example, all right, within my own culture. The Haitian people, we traditionally as people practice Vodun. Okay. Vodun is the spiritual practice of the Haitian people. And because of the negative stories that's been told to us by the colonizers, okay, about, you're not supposed to be practicing the very thing that empowers you. So what ends up happening is within our own culture, the stories that connect us to Vodun are often not told because we've been, brainwashed into thinking that Vodun is negative. Yet it is this powerful tool that our people use to free themselves from colonial oppression. Now you can understand why these stories are not told, because the very people that do not want the people to be resilient and, build their strength, they're not going to emphasize the very thing that strengthens them. Okay, so in one sense of the word, it kind of like you can put two and two together, and you can see why these stories were not um they were not enforced, they were not told, because there's a reason why they weren't told. Because if if you know what empowers you, then you would also know how to free yourself. You would also know that you cannot be bound in chains, whether it is mentally, physically, or or spiritually. Okay, so if you are connected to the tool that empowers you, there are a lot of forces out there that know what you can become and how powerful you can become if you are connected to that tool. So in essence, keep in mind, we're talking about storytelling and the importance of telling stories and the importance of using those creative gifts. So specifically in the case of Haitian people, the story of Vodun hasn't been told because of that. Now, going back to the movie, that young man telling his story, I mean, he didn't even have to say much. His energy, his essence said everything. He said he didn't even really sing but like two lines. And then within seconds of him, singing and striking the string of this guitar, a portal was open. And this is why it's important that we use our creative gifts, because we open these portals to the power of our ancestors. We open portals to, our ancestral bloodlines by using our creative gifts. And a lot of times we're not even really like cognizant of how powerful these gifts are. These are gifts that for many of us have been passed down to us through our ancestral bloodline. See, like your ancestors, they knew what they were doing. Okay? They knew what they were doing. Many of you are that person. You are this person. You are the one that is chosen to carry on the gifts of your ancestors. The gifts that you possess, whatever creative gift that you have, many of you you're that person that's been chosen to carry on those gifts, whatever that gift is. Some of you, it actually is storytelling. Okay, some of you, it is storytelling, and there are many different ways of telling stories. Okay, we have to broaden our horizon of what storytelling is. It's not just, opening up a book or, telling this story, that we read in a chapter or anything like that. Connecting others to what our ancestors did, what empowered our ancestors, doing the things that our ancestors doing the things that our ancestors did to empower themselves is a means of storytelling. Using your creative gifts, whatever it is, okay? Whether you have the gift of healing, whether you have the gift of divination, whether you have the gift of teaching, whatever that gift is, use it, because it has been passed down to you by your ancestors in order for you to not only remember those ancestors, it's essentially a means of awakening the energy of your ancestors and being connected to them. Okay, and it's important that we are connected to them, because our ancestors, I almost feel like our ancestors are the portal to connect us to our spiritual elevation. And many of us are not even aware of that. You know, we've neglected them. We've neglected those shrines. We've neglected the spiritual practices that are meant to awaken the spirit of our ancestors. And, you know, a lot of folks are like, you know, I actually experienced this recently where I was talking about, you know, asking questions about ancestors, and someone was like, well, you know, why are you talking about people who are, you know, who died already? You know, they're no longer here. And this is part of what that like Euro-Christian mindset has instilled and embedded in a lot of people of African descent, especially people of African descent who have been brainwashed into, you know, being sleepwalkers. Okay, like half conscious, not even fully awake, not even fully their, you know, their powerful divine selves. We've been taught to think this way, that once someone dies, especially the loved ones that were close to us, once they're no longer here, you shouldn't talk about them. It's a quote unquote a sin. It's a sin for you to do so, you know, to like almost as if like there's no existence, like there's no spiritual, there's no spirit, it's only body. So once the body is gone, that's it. Like it's almost like the person never existed. And me knowing that that's not true, you know, I said, no, once someone dies, they still exist. The body is no longer here. The spirit is here. And it's interesting because it's like, even if the person experiences like events, or there's evidence that spirit exists, they've had so much brainwashing, you know, instilled in them. And I tend to find this, and I can only speak from my experience, like a lot of the relatives that I have people that I know, they subscribe to this belief that, you know, there is no such thing as spirit. Even though they've had experiences where they've dreamt about a loved one who's passed coming to give them a message. And it's that very message that was given to them in a dream that essentially either saved them or, you know, gave them passage. Even if they've had proof that spirit exists, it's almost like the brainwashing tries to take over. It tries to convince them of what they know internally to be true. Okay? So, in essence, don't be brainwashed. Or wake up. Okay, wake up from the slumber, wake up from the sleep. And many of you, I've been receiving this message in terms of your creative gifts. Some of you, I received this word specifically from my spirit guides. You are someone who is an awakener of souls. That's the exact word that I received. Many of you are awakener of souls. You are an awakener of souls. And I feel like partly that is exactly what this movie did for a lot of people, is that it awakened, you know, it awakened them in their sleep state. It awakened, you know, their soul, the soul that's been, you know, attacked in such a way where it's been dormant. It's been attacked for so long that it's been in a sleep state. You know, this movie will definitely, especially that scene, will definitely awaken, you know, your spirit, your soul. Because if your soul is dormant, if you know that part of you that connects you to your divinity is dormant, there's really little that you can do, and there's only so much elevation that you can do being in a sleep state. Okay, And you will see this, okay? This is my personal experience. Like this movie is definitely one of those films that's meant to awaken your soul so you can connect with your divinity. And for me, it definitely connected me to this message that I have here, which is the importance of using those gifts to connect you to your bloodline, to essentially continue this awakening of your soul. Many folks don't know that they're asleep. Many folks do not even know that they're literally in a deep state of slumber, that they're just going through the day-to-day motions and don't really have like a conscious sense of what's happening to them, because it's more so that reality is happening to them. That's what it feels like to be in a sleep state. And for many of you, you get to know that you began using your creative gifts. Many of you began using your creative gifts, and using those gifts, you notice that as you began using those gifts, it also connected you to a level of consciousness that you may not even have known that you had. And that part of that is connected to your ancestral bloodline. That consciousness, okay? That consciousness that is still awake, even though the physical body of those ancestors are not here, their consciousness is awakened through you by use of those creative gifts that's been passed down from them to you. Your ancestors knew what they were doing, okay? The practices that they had, the spiritual practices that they had, it empowered them. And the more you connect with the ancestral knowledge, the more you connect with your gifts, the more awakened, okay, you become. And many of you are noticing that. The more awakened you become. And many of you have also experienced a lot of challenges because you are that person that is meant to awaken others in your bloodline. Because the goal is to keep them asleep. And you being an awakener of souls, you were treading unknown territory, yet you did it. You did it because you knew that that was your assignment. You endured a lot of backlash from people who didn't have the same beliefs that you did. In fact, you may have been one of those folks that everybody else who wanted to stay asleep, you knew you were supposed to be awake. You were trying to spread the message, yet, you know, it's like some folks just was like, nah, listen, I'm going back to sleep. You could go over there with that message. They were so content in their way of being. They were so content in their Euro-Christian way of being. Like a lot of these, you know, folks that are in their sleep state are not even aware that there is an institution that's made it their business to keep them asleep. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. For a lot of folks, especially the Haitian people, the Catholic Church, okay, the Catholic Church has played a major role in keeping them asleep, because it is to their benefit for them to be asleep. It's to their benefit for them to be asleep. It's to the benefit of the Catholic Church for the Haitian people to be asleep. Because if they were to practice their traditional African practices, do you really think that the Haitian people would be suffering from all of this, you know, instability within their own country, being known as the first people to gain their independence from colonial oppression? The Empire of Haiti, the first, it's not the first Black Republic, y'all. It's an empire led by, okay, we'll talk about that another time, because this is supposed to be about using those creative gifts. I mean, it's all tied. It's all tied. Using those creative gifts to make sure that you connect to your ancestral bloodline and you awaken yourself, you awaken your soul, you awaken your spirit, and you elevate yourself. Okay, there's a song in Haitian Vodun about Gani Bolele that talks about, once you become grown, you gotta do things like grown folks. Once you are no longer a child, you can no longer, act like a child. Gani Bolele is the one that connects us back to our source, is the one that essentially reminds us that, hey, you say you grown, you gotta do what grown folks do. You gotta live like you are grown. And many folks are still living like they a child. They still asking permission from the Catholic Church to live. They still asking permission to be themselves. To be themselves. It's like, tie the pieces together. Who are you? Is this practice that you practice now? Is that what your people practice? Is this what your ancestors did? Yet they're going to talk about, oh, there's no such thing as ancestors. They're dead. That's why you in the state that you in now, because you believe that your ancestors are not here. Gani Bolele in Haitian Vodun connects us back to ourselves and reminds us that we are grown. And when you say you grown, you live like you're grown. You don't ask permission to be grown. Being grown is knowing exactly who you are and being comfortable in your skin and being comfortable with your origin, not being ashamed of where you come from, your origins, your people, your language, your culture, your spiritual practice. You say you grown. You say you grown, yet you're ashamed to even speak the name of your ancestors because you're ashamed of what someone else will think about you. Yet you grown. Gani Bolele reminds us that when we say we grown, we walk like we grown. Gani Bolele reminds us that we're grown. And the song that we sing in Haitian Vodun, it goes, Ibolele, Ibolele o, Ibolele o, Maya magamun pajwe o, Ibolele, Ibolele o, Ibolele o, Maya magamun pajwe o. And there's a part that says, Simte la le gan mwete la, Simte la le gan mwete la, Simte la le gan mwete la, Lita motrim danse ibo. And that's a dance. It's a very powerful dance. It's a warrior's dance. And the song talks about grown folks don't play. It reminds us of our connection to source, our connection to ourselves. Now, I'm speaking about Haitian Vodun because that is who I am. Vodou is my spiritual practice, although I still consider myself to be a baby who's still learning. Yet I know who I am. I could say that. I'm learning. And I choose to be authentic to who I am. Gani Bolele is our mother. Okay, and the title Gun means grandmother, right? It means grandmother, the one who was here before, the one who knows more than your mother does. So in essence, this this message actually speaks for itself, I would say. It's a story in essence that needed to be told and connected to this film by Ryan Coogler, who I couldn't really say it enough how much of a genius, this director, this human being, this melanated man is. His way of telling stories, it literally feels like he grabbed your soul. Okay, and I'm sharing this with you because this is how it felt watching this film. It literally feels like for the brief time that you were there, he took you, grabbed your soul, and shook you to remind you to go back to source, go back and fetch it, Sankofa. Okay, so I'm going to say the same thing to you. You who may have forgotten your gifts, you who may have, whatever reason, years of miseducation, misdirection, being misled, whatever it is, may have tried to make you forget who you are. Hopefully, you being connected to your creative gifts, you will find that it will grab you and shake you so that you remember. You remember who you are, you remember your power, you remember where you come from. And just know that it's a process. If you feel like you're not quite there yet, it's okay. None of us are quite exactly where we ought to be, because there's always room for growth, and the growth comes by working at it. The growth comes by putting down the phone sometimes, picking up a book and reading, being connected to information. And for many of us, it comes by, speaking to those who know, getting the information from those who know. Just know that there's more than one way of getting information these days. It's not just your phone, okay? Because I know that I feel like we're so programmed to just pick up the phone and, to look for information as if that's our only source of information. There's so many different sources out there. So continue to look. If you're not looking, start looking. Okay, pick up a book. Speak to people who've, been connected to this information before, because it's out there. And in terms of your creative gifts, for many of you, you already have it in you, right? Because remember, it's like a blueprint that's been passed down to you. So it starts by looking within first and foremost. And then once you've identified that that's your gift, then you hone in on those gifts by getting information, reading books, listening to audio, whatever it is. Essentially, those gifts are going to awaken you to a higher level in your spiritual walk. And you're going to see that it also connects you to your ancestral bloodline. And I know I keep saying that there's a root. There's a point of connection. There's a place where these gifts come from. Many of you are going to find that, hey, you know, it's your father, it's your mother, it's your great grandmother, it's your great grandfather that had the exact same gift that you did. And that gift has been passed down to you. Yet you don't want to know that person that passed down that powerful gift to you. You're going to say, oh, I don't believe in ancestors. You're not ashamed of the gift that you got, but you're ashamed to say that you got it from that person. How much sense does that make? You don't believe in the person that gave you the gift, yet you believe in the person. Wait, but you believe in the gift. I want to make sure I had my train of thought. You don't believe that that ancestor exists, yet there's the gift. Okay, so if that ancestor is dead, your gift is dead too, right? So you right? Your gift is dead. If your ancestor is dead, the ancestor that passed down that gift, right? Your ancestors are not dead. They're very much alive in a different form. You see them. They bring you messages. In your dreams, some of you see them. So connect. And just know that those of you who are on that path, who have chosen to walk the path less traveled, that means that you may be someone who's going against the grain, so to speak, yet you know your ancestors are telling you that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Stay the course. Okay, and do as much as possible not to get distracted, because it's a lot of distractions out there. All right, and continue to use those gifts and elevate yourself. Awaken the awakener of souls. All right, so continue to use your creative gifts, your creative energy, and continue to elevate, because the power that you have, it's only going to become a lot stronger. All right, y'all. I hope this message helped someone. I feel like it was said exactly the way it was supposed to be said. It started out with, okay, I had this like vision in mind that I was going to talk about. Your creative gifts will heal your ancestral bloodline. And then it's like, I was just like, okay, listen, it is what it is. And I hope y'all get a chance to support this genius of a man, Ryan Coogler. I don't know if you're going to see this video, but your film is awesome. You're a genius. You deserve your flowers. I'm giving you your flowers. Definitely, I see your genius. Your spirit is beyond your years. Like, you've been here before. Okay. And I thank you and appreciate you for this work that you did. There were some critiques about the film. Maybe I'll use another video to talk about that. It is what it is, right? All right. So thank you. I hope this message definitely helped y'all. Continue to use your gifts. All right. If there are no questions, I am going to sign off. Thank you for joining the live, y'all. And for anyone interested in a personal reading, you know how to contact me. Much love, peace, and divine light.